ask you a question. I'm out here at, this is North Point Parkway and Lombardi Lane, I think. And this is, what are we seeing here?
We're seeing the result of the police coming out and systematically identifying homeless encampments and shutting them down as quickly as they can. We are anticipating the raid on the Last Chance Village and Remembrance Village behind the Dollar Tree on Sebastopol Road, and people are trying to escape the fate of having to deal with the officers and their harassment and their abuse and their constant citations.
And that's supposed to happen tomorrow?
Yes.
Right. So again, the homeless encampment over at Roseland behind the Dollar Tree is supposed to be evacuated or broken down tomorrow, beginning tomorrow. And some of these people that are here come from that camp, right? Is that right?
Yeah, they're fleeing from what's going to happen tomorrow, which is, again, the citations, which contributes to people's debt, which means that they're not going to be able to get a place to live.
Has anybody been cited here today?
I can't say that, but right now, we're just it's all up to the officers. They're the ones that get to decide what form of force they get to use, and we're just kind of trying our best. We're asking them, where should we go? And they're not giving us any answers. They're just saying anyone who's not packing up or moving is going to be in risk of arrest.
Okay. And how long has this camp, when did this start?
Last night.
Just last night, okay. And so when did the police arrive?
I wasn't here when that happened, but I believe it was like 10 o'clock.
At about 10 o'clock in the morning. And so I understand that they told you this was private property. Is that what they said?
I didn't talk to the police.
Oh.
I don't talk to cops.
Do we know how many people, how many tents you had here last night?
Well, we have just as much as you have here. You can count them yourself.
Okay. All right. Again, what was your name?
It's Cox.
Cox. Okay. Thank you. She doesn't read the press notification.
Oh, well.
Okay. So we have how many tents? Okay, this is Kathleen Finnegan.
Hello.
Kathleen, identify yourself.
Kathleen Finnegan. I'm with Homeless Action.
Homeless Action? Okay. And so your understanding of what happened here today was that overnight some of these people fled the encampment over at Roseland?
Absolutely.
To try to get away from tomorrow's raid, I guess?
Exactly. People are terrified. They're anxious. They're frustrated. They have no place to go. And so some people decided they wanted to try over here, and they were followed by the police, I understand, and have been told that.
So you're saying that they were being watched from the moment they left?
Apparently so.
Okay, the camp in Roseland. And do you know? I was going to ask. How many people do you have over at Roseland at the encampment?
You know, it's very fluid right now, Martin. A lot of people have been trying to find other places to go. A few people have filtered out. There were about 140. And
at one point, 140.
Yeah, after 6th Street. And actually it grew after 6th Street.
So what we had originally at the camp was Camp Michaela.
Yes.
And that had been there for a few years, right?
Since, I think, August or September 2015.
Okay. And then that was renamed to Camp Remembrance, is that correct?
Yes.
And then there was a fairly large homeless encampment under the overpass at 6th Street.
Yes.
That was evacuated or raided back when?
That was November 2017.
Okay.
And again, people had no place to go.
So they can't actually...
They ended up at Roseland Village with the others. And so it got to be somewhat unmanageable just because it was so large. But we have a lot of people who have no place to go to live. And that has not changed. And so it's a revolving door of misery. The homeless are the forgotten ones.
Mm-hmm.
People just sweep them under the carpet, kick the can down the road, and there have been no solutions of any significance.
What has the county told you?
Or city have come up with.
The county never endorsed or never sanctioned that encampment, and yet they were there when you set it up. I mean, not you, but when Camp Michaela was set up. I saw county officials there.
Yes.
They were actually giving you instructions on, how to geographically arranged the camp so that it could not be seen from the
Precisely.
Sebastopol Road.
Right.
So I mean, they were pretty involved, from what I could see.
Exactly. We were apparently Camp Michaela originated at the water agency, which is
Right.
also county property.
Right.
And they said you have to move, but we suggest you can go over to Roseland. And they, in Shirley Zane's words, they created the camp at Roseland Village.
Right.
So it was not exactly sanctioned, but it wasn't official.
It was unofficial.
But the county permitted it and helped people move in there.
Okay, but was there a promise along the way or during these last few years that there would be another location, that this was only temporary? What did they say?
Well,
and who is they? Are we talking about CDC or?
We're talking about Catholic Charities. We're talking about CDC. We're talking about the Board of Supervisors.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the host team.
Okay.
And in fact, Susan Chunko has been part of the management of Camp Michaela ever since it was formed.
Mm-hmm.
And she says they were promised another place to go. After they got to Roseland, 2 years, they haven't come up with one suggestion.
And so now, this is it. Tomorrow they're gonna.
So now it's the same thing again.
How was this site identified?
I have no idea.
Again, this is North Point Parkway. I'm speaking to Kathleen Finnegan. This is Martin Espinoza with the Press Democrat. North Point Parkway and Lombardi Lane. And we're right next to what looks like the Sonoma Beverage Company over there. And so this is a parking lot right next to it. Police officers have just informed the camp organizers here that they have to leave. And so everybody is packing up here to leave. And these are people that overnight, last night, fled Camp Remembrance. They're just calling it the encampment over at Roseland.
The Roseland camps.
The
yes.
Roseland camps.
Mm-hmm.
And so they fled last night, but now they're being told to leave, that this is private property, and so they're packing up and going.
Yes, and they have no place to go. It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, this is not a few people, it's quite a few people. But haven't some of the people that were at the Roseland encampments, haven't they found housing?
I think a few of them, well, what happened, they opened a navigation center,
right.
They meaning the county, and Margaret Van Vliet on December 5th, she's the director of the CDC, the Development Commission, said that they had funding and resources to establish 35 households.
Okay.
And to date, 5 have been assigned.
Assigned?
So that means, what happened to the other 30 spaces? I don't know. The county, the supervisors also said, we understand that people not everyone can deal with the shelters because they have emotional disabilities, they have physical disabilities, and we have to accommodate that. And yet that doesn't seem to be happening. So people here who have been approached or want to be assessed, they're looking for housing, but they don't want to go back to Sam Jones. Most of them have been there,
mm-hmm.
and they've had bad experiences there.
What's wrong with Sam Jones?
Well, I can't speak for them, but what I have heard is that there's no privacy. They have all kinds of very strict rules. I don't think you can take your pets. A lot of people have dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And they are afraid for their own security at Sam Jones. And it's very crowded. And it is an emergency situation, although the county calls it transitional. It really is an emergency shelter.
Right. All right. So, again, we have how many tents? We've got 1, 2,
I think
3,
13
4, about 13
came
here,
out, yes. 2 trailers.
and they're all packing up.
Yep, they're packing up. They don't want to get arrested, but they don't know where they can go.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Kathleen.
Thanks, Martin. We're glad to see you out here. So, you should ask John Wolf what he has to say. He's a pretty good guy.